And
All
before
right.
we get into the questions, I gotta ask: have you seen that tweet I tagged you in where it's just a
Oh
picture
yeah.
of
Oh, you
Woody
mean
in that?
the yeah, yeah. I've actually saw that like a while ago because I made a post about this about Genie's design because I saw that in Walmart when I was on break. I saw like this figurine of Genie, and like I don't know if you saw that. Let me pull that up real quick. 'Cause it's like the most fucking baller shit. I was like, what the fuck is this design? So Genie, it's like this whole freaking gotcha game that Disney's doing now, like
Gotcha!
Mirrorverse,
I
whatever
thought it
it's
was
called.
League of Legends.
No, 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 no. It's not like I don't know if it's like League of Legends or not, but like there's some sort of gotcha system. I think.
Uh huh.
But like here, I'm gonna post it right here. Yeah,
All
this is a
right.
design, and there's like a figurine. Like here's the actual figurine. This is the
What?
fig.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
I.
yeah, I know. It's like unironically, it was like really cool. I was like, what the heck? I still haven't gotten it because like I'm trying to save money, but it's like, dude,
If you're
this
ever,
fucks.
if you're ever going to get this design, get it with the Woody, okay?
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like, I haven't seen the Woody. I've literally only seen like this Genie design, Jack Sparrow, and like Buzz Lightyear. I saw like this. I don't know what the heck it is. It's like this Norded version of Sully, but like with this power armor sort of deal. But he's like
Mm-hmm.
just pure purple. And I saw that at GameStop the other day. I haven't actually seen. I really don't know anything about the game. I just know that for some reason these designs exist, so I have no idea what the actual game itself is. I can only assume, like you said, it's like a League of Legends thing, or it's like some sort of gotcha thing. I have no idea, but I also really don't care that much to get into. I'm just like, wow, these are really nice designs. I don't know why they put this much effort into it.
Because why not? Anyway, here's Woody.
Yeah.
It's actually you. Just it's actually you. I can't get over that.
No, yeah, everyone like it's funny because like everybody like even before this whole thing, everyone like there's like a number of people that like joked about the whole "you're my favorite deputy" sort of Woody meme, is the whole
Uh
deputy thing. Yeah,
well,
so it's a ridiculously good design. Like when I saw, I was wondering what they were gonna do for Woody's design because if they even did him, because like Buzz Lightyear, he basically just was his regular suit, but it just looked a bit more, like Overwatch. And it's funny because like this one looks like Woody was placed in Overwatch as well. I mean, it's a really cool design. It's just like, but it doesn't resemble his old outfit at all. Besides the like they have like the hat, obviously his face, and you can see like the handkerchief in there, but the undershirt is no longer is only visible there, and then they have this new overcoat and weird gloves and such. I mean, it's a cool design, but it's like, what the hell?
I could listen to you all day.
The following podcast is brought to you by Rodeo Brand Paper Towels. Rodeo Brand Paper Towels, for messes as big as Texas.
Anyway, welcome to the Onemanshowoff podcast, where we practice our rights to free speech ethnically and tastefully. Today we
I thought
have
you
an
just
artist
said-
who.
I thought you said you practice your rice shrimp thing. I don't know why I thought I heard you say that. I'm so sorry.
I never had shrimp. Anyway, today we have an artist who today we have an artist who embodies manliness minus the toxicity and has an art style that I would best describe as American anime. It's Deputy Rust. How are you? And do you need oil for that, Rust?
No, I'm good. I'm already filled up with grease from McDonald's.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Now, like a true American.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, a little bit.
Uh huh. Anyway, what made you want to draw?
So actually, I've been drawing since like I was 4 years old. That's not. I know that a lot of people be like, "Oh, I've always wanted to draw since I was like younger age," and said, but like I literally been drawing since like I was around 4 years old. That's like the earliest I could feasibly remember. But this was also like an age where I was like really like that age where like you like really freaking into something like some sort of random toy thing. For me, it was like Blue's Clues and Thomas the Tank Engine. And ironically, my favorite color back then was blue. My favorite color now is red. So we've transitioned from going Virgil to full on Dante in terms of like the color scheme thing. But like when I was a kid, I was always drawing like trains and like Blue's Clues and stuff. And there was literally this tick I had basically. If I didn't get it right, like I didn't like whenever I was drawing, like I didn't get immediately right. Like I just made one mistake. I literally threw away the sheet of paper. I was the cause for why we ran out of paper so much in the household.
Was it
I
printer
just
paper?
yeah, it was basically just all the printer paper went to waste essentially because of me. Because I just
Damn.
couldn't understand the idea that that I didn't have to be a perfectionist. And already when I was like a little kid, my little autism was just like in there, just like I gotta draw the train exactly right. And that
Oh,
was
so
my
you
whole
are on the
MO.
spectrum.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Like what nowadays, Asperger's and such is more considered autism. I know like the whole spectrum thing has changed a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but what I have is more like like obviously it is autism now. Like it seems to be, yeah. But like I have Asperger's. There's actually a point in time my family actually thought I had like I was like I was not high functioning at all because I was really quiet as a kid, and so like there was that whole thing. But I would like to think myself as relatively functioning at the very least. But yeah, so I don't really talk about it a whole lot, mainly because like when I was growing up, my mom and dad tried to help me just try to adapt pretty well with society. It's not like they didn't like oh man, you have autism. They wanted to help me like socialize better and stuff and things like that because I was always that kid that was like by myself. I didn't make friends easy. That my mind just kind of it worked just enough different where it was
Mm-hmm.
hard to connect with a whole lot of people, which is why I'm really happy that a lot of my connections are online. Even
Mm-hmm.
though I know it's like I'm not going to see them all the time, it's like it's an easier way for my mind to be like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This is helping me, and now I've made a lot better and more lifelong friends through online stuff. So I will say that.
I think you described my situation because I too have a family that actually gives a shit about me and wants me to succeed and be happy, and also help me socialize more, which I have been making an effort doing, and that's what
Mhm.
led me to you.
Oh, real? Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to talk to people and interview people, so I tried to do that, but along the way, I had people tell me the do's and don'ts of how to talk to people, and it's been very eye opening and awakening, and I love it.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. Like it, I will say, I still could be a bit of a pain in the ass to my parents and stuff because I do try to actually function and such, like just trying to communicate. I do try my best, but like there's times where I get the better of myself, especially like for my dad, for example. I know it's obviously like, oh, the dad and son always fight, but like when it comes to me, my dad's like literally, it gets pretty heated, not like in a mean way, but it's just like we produce a lot of energy more than we intend, and so it's just kind of like this back and forth, like we're giving out energy that we're not meaning as much, but then we're receiving it. It's just one of those things, and like my dad and I also are similar in a lot of ways, but then there's obviously the major differences, and it's just like we're so close to just, and then it goes off course essentially, and it's not that like he doesn't get me or anything like that. I'm just saying like when it comes to like arguments and stuff, it's just like crash course basically.
Ugh.
And
Well,
that's not it. Like I have to say this because like it's not me dissing my dad. I'm just saying that's just part of what happens when you like there's enough similarities, but there's also enough differences where it happens a lot. And it doesn't mean I hate my dad. I love my dad. My dad's literally been the guy that's helped me a lot in my life. Like when I was in Boy Scouts, and has been very protective over all of us, me and my sisters. So I don't mean whenever I'm saying that, I'm not saying like, oh, my dad's an awful person because I don't want people to think of that because there's like way too many people that think when they hear like parents arguing with their kids and stuff, they think like, oh man, that must mean they have a
Rust, I
horrible
think I got the
relationship.
idea.
Oh, so that's where the spectrum comes.
You're just so happy to speak to someone and have them listening to you because autistic kids love to talk about themselves and what they are interested in, and you have so much to say, and it's
Yeah, I
rewarding
know,
to
but
have
like
someone
that's
hear you.
but yeah, but I don't need to like I mean yes, it's great, but at the same time, that's not how everybody works. I don't need a monologue, so I am sorry about that.
Yeah, you're fine. You save your monologues for your comic, which is filled with monologues, which I'm going to ask about. How did you come up with your series, Unbreakable Iron Ranger?
So originally it was good lord, I can't speak today. So like when originally the concept was for this originally it started off as a comic called Freak of Nature, and that was originally something that was called Freaky Mighty Beowulf, and that was something. So like in 2015, the series that was named Freaky Mighty Beowulf was basically like this fantasy esque series, but it was more like that weird, like that modernized fantasy sort of thing. You know, like how like Ruby or something else like what else would be another good example? Because I don't want to just be Ruby that is like the main example. Because like, but basically it was like this fantasy mixed with modern day sort of aesthetics and principles, not principles. Yeah, you know what I mean. It was basically like this like much more fantasy thing, but not the traditional like Lord of the Rings stuff. It was more like
Modern American fantasy.
whatever that was. Yes, but yeah. So basically, it was just a reinterpretation of Beowulf essentially, and that's how it first started. And then there was this webtoons contest that happened in like 2015. It was a superhero contest, and it was one where Stan Lee was hosting it. I freaking loved Stan Lee. Like I grew up like not just with anime and manga, but I also loved superhero comics. I freaking love Marvel. I was a big Marvel kid. I loved Spider-Man. I freaking love Spider-Man. And so like I wanted to do that contest, and so I decided to redo it as a more superhero thing. And then Freaky Mighty Beowulf became Freak of Nature, and then what led to a bunch of reboots happening again and again and again and again over until I got to Unbreakable Iron Ranger. Now, how I got to Unbreakable Iron Ranger happened because of a little bit of like Samurai Jack season 5, and me just deciding to try to give this story one last time to give it like the proper thing it needs. Because for a while I was just constantly rebooting, thinking, "Nah, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. This isn't good enough," and it was very frustrating because it was at a time when I was a lot more depressed and not fully depressed, but you know what I mean. I was very insecure of myself and very critical. That I'm still a little bit critical of myself today, but like back then it was awful. Like I was constantly redoing things, feeling like I had to redo it to get it right on the first try, and it led to me almost tanking my own career before it even started. And and taking my what?
Were you hard on yourself because you wanted to appeal to everyone, or yourself? Because the reason I am hard on myself is because I feel I have to write a story a certain way to get people to like me, and by people I don't mean normies, I mean like fucking Doug Walker.
Well, it was a big yes and no. Like for me, I wanted to feel like I was doing in the best, like creating an actually good story. Because like when I was growing up, my mom, we were homeschooled, but my mom also made sure we did a lot of reading and such. So there was a lot of great literature we would read. Like we would read Lord of the Rings, I would read Tale of Despero, all these kind of things. And so that kind of translated to some of my early manga taste, like Full Metal Alchemist, for example. Like that still is one of my favorite manga series of all time. I still adore that series to this day. It's one of my favorites. But like for me, I was like I wanted to prove myself. Like I was doing good because like during the superhero contest, there was really a part of me that was trying to like strive to like get everyone's attention, but I also wanted to do it my way, and that kind of stubbornness. Like I didn't want to try to make a story that was appealing to everybody, but I was like, I want to make my story the best way possible, but I want my story to be made the best way possible. So I was constantly hard on myself on revisions and trying to make sure I had a good start, because you know it's important to have a good start to your story. But because of that, I never actually progressed anywhere further. And so in about 2017, I made a pilot for myself, which would be, reviewed again, but I intended for that pilot to be like, okay, I want to try this one more time. And I watched Samurai Jack season 5. Gendy Tartakovsky is one of my favorite artists, and season 5 was another big inspiration because that's right as I was getting into college. Like that was in my second year of college when it finally came out. Well, not second year, it was in my first year of college because I went to college all 2016. And so like, early 2017, that's when Samurai Jack season 5 came out. So like that really started influencing my style, and a lot of the backgrounds that I drew early on were very much Samurai Jack inspired. The paneling was very much inspired by that early on. It still is to this day in terms of like trying to translate it onto webtoons. But it was very much inspired by that series. And then after doing that pilot, I was like, okay, I feel a little bit more confident in what I want to do. And I decided I want to try this again, but this time with the knowledge I have and how I want to go about it. And that led to the current state of Unbreakable Iron Ranger. Now, Unbreakable Iron Ranger, they'll still start off being called the Unbreakable Freak of Nature. And it was later I decided to change it to Unbreakable Iron Ranger because I felt like at this point in time, the Freak of Nature part didn't really work as well, because early on, Ben was supposed to be this character that like, he was always meant to regenerate, but Ben was originally supposed to have a lot like more gory regenerations and things like that. And it was supposed to have like an amnesiac background, like he didn't know who he was or anything like that. So it was basically just like he was a literal freak of nature. No one knew who he was and stuff. But then as it became more of a Western, I was like, why not call him the Unbreakable Iron Ranger? because obviously he's unbreakable, and he's got even though it's not iron, it's iron prosthetic. It still fits with the iron sort of prosthetic sort of
Iron
look.
Will.
Aesthetic, yeah, an Iron Will, the Unbreakable Iron Will sort of thing. That's what led to the name change for that, and it's honestly become a lot more memorable and stuff, especially since it fits in more of Ben's character than Freak of Nature. Because you look at Ben, like you don't think because Freak of Nature, you typically think of like something more psychotic, not psychotic, but like more genuinely freakish. But Ben's not freakish; he's just a good-hearted dude.
Rust.
But
Usually these interviews go with an artist. I would have them draw the thumbnail for me, and I'm just imagining the thumbnail of me just sitting there on a table, holding my head up with a smile, while you just blabber on with a million different speech bubbles about different topics.
thank you.
You'd be
Well,
surprised. Some of the best people, some of the best friends you'll ever meet, are people that could just listen to you go on and on about cryptids and
yeah.
America and McDonald's.
Oh no, yeah. Like Brock is is one of my best friends and my editor. He's been helping me out a lot. But he's definitely been one of the. Especially, they're helping now, but like he's been helping me get all my ideas out and just like letting me just splurge. Same thing with Alex, my girlfriend. She's been helping me out a lot with that too.
Sweet.
Well, not with just cryptids, but like just real life stuff.
I have a
Course of
couple
that.
of friends. My friend Ben, who lives in Illinois, and I have another friend named Pierce, who lives in Texas. They've both have been helping me with my own Western-inspired mythology thingy called Skinwalkers. It is so much gorier than your series. In fact, it's highly influenced by shit like Devilman. And
Oh yeah.
I've Devilman is
funny
one of my
thing is,
all-time
like-
favorite manga. So hearing that favorite juxtaposed with your favorite is, yeah, I think
Well,
it's
there's more-
interesting.
There's more favorites I have. Like Fullmetal Alchemist is one of my favorites because it was the thing that got me into manga. But if you want to hear what my actual favorite full-time manga of all time is, it's actually Trigun. Trigun is definitively.
Oh, that
one of
makes
my
more
favorites.
sense.
Trigun is definitely one of my yeah, it's my most favorite series when it comes to manga. Like, there's a play of the series that I love and enjoy, like JoJo, Baki, Kengan Asura. I love Dorohedoro. I love Dai Dark. I love that new series. It's great. I love One Piece as well. That's another one of my favorites. But Trigun is one of those series that I was really able to connect to a lot more. I connected with Fullmetal Alchemist, but like when it came to Trigun, it was something that really just hit home with me. Just everything about it, from the aesthetics to the characters to the whole Wild West theme, the music, it was from the anime and stuff. It was just everything clicked essentially for me. That's why it's one of my favorite manga, and it's just great. Like Ben, I made no like shyness about it, but like Ben is based off of Vash the Stampede. And like early on, originally, I imagined him having like a Johnny Young Bosch voice. Now he has more of a. Now he has a voice, which is feels great, but he definitely now has more of like a Dante from Devil May Cry kind of voice, from Dave Rubin.
In
But
this
still,
world, you're either a Spike Spiegel or a Vasha Stampede.
basically, yeah.
So,
But, I mean,
question: Trigun anime versus manga. How do you feel comparing the two?
I mean, I'm gonna have more of a. There's a slight bias I have with the anime because that's where I came off of. But I do definitely think that the manga is better. Not to try to say the anime is bad or anything like that. I love the anime, but like for me also, I love the original creator's intent as well. Like there's some cases obviously where I'm like, wow, this is much better because it actually improves on a lot of things. Like for example, Invincible, like the comic's really good, but then I feel, but like the animated series so far has been elevating it. Like it's definitely a case of like the original creator looking at the old series and being like, here's all the things I messed up on, but actually improving upon it. And
Wait, we're
going
talking about
forward-
Invincible now?
Yeah. So sorry, I know it's a weird change, but like I want to make that example. Like normally I like the original author's intent. Like when it comes to say JoJo, I love the anime, but I also still really love the manga. There's just something about like reading it in manga format that's just I still enjoy over the anime sometimes. Even though the anime is done visually well. Like some points, like the part 3's fight with Jotaro versus Dio, it's like it kind of feels a little bit stilted because the whole time because everything's supposed to be in frozen time. But in the manga, you're able to easily suspend your disbelief about the whole thing. But then when you're watching in the anime, it's like this kind of looks a little bit boring sometimes, up to the point where it's like they finally clash, but then they stop. But then in the OVA series, it's like, oh man, they do this. They really they really go on the budget on the anime. They're like it literally. I don't know if you've seen the OVA series.
I have.
Oh yeah,
The one
yeah.
with
So
the
you know
one
what
with the
I'm
7-Up, the one with the 7-Up sign.
Yeah. Man, I could really go for a drink right now. But yeah, like the whole freaking just like they really changed it up. Like that was them definitely catering to more the animation side of things. Like with the final fight between Johto and Dio. I mean, obviously they were jumping around and doing all this kind of stuff, but it was more engaging and stuff. It was cool essentially. But in like while I love Dave Productions adaptation more than the OVA, there's still moments like that where I'm like, oh man, this is kind of a little bit stilted. But then there's times like with the poker scene, it's like, oh my god, it's
Tell
just...
me, how would you feel if Unbreakable Iron Ranger had an animated series? Would you change stuff from the original story?
Well, technically, that's kind of what Crips and Cowboys is supposed to be. Not like a hard research, but it's more like Crips and Cowboys, even though it continues the story, it's like me learning from the mistakes of Iron Ranger and fixing them up. I feel like if Unbreakable Iron Ranger was readapted, I think what I would do is fix up on some things I really should have done from the beginning. Because while I was creating Unbreakable Iron Ranger, there was times I was retconning as I went. Like one of the things, obviously, was like originally was called Unbreakable Freak of Nature, and turned to Unbreakable Iron Ranger. But up until that point when I decided to change it, Ben was called Freak. He wasn't called by his actual real name, Ben. So there was a lot of changes I had to go back and do there. Stuff that I still have to do. There was also other little tidbits and stuff like character designs. I'm kind of like, I want to go back and just make this the definitive design.
I can imagine if your series became an animated series, or if someone's reviewing your comic, it'll be like a 40-minute video 40-minute video explaining why it's I see the first Sona would have their arms crossed, and he would talk about why the series is inconsistent, and how, like, you know, when you make a story and you go through all these pitfalls, it almost makes you forgive a bunch of flaws that a bunch of stories have, because...
Oh, no, yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does, because obviously when you ever create your story, you're like, oh, wow, I could do so much better, because you think of it ahead of time. But then while you're creating it, there's a lot of things that come up, like life that happens. Like, there was a number of incidents in my life, like, early on from Unbreakable Iron Ranger, where it was kind of causing some issues. Like, episode 5, holy shit. I mean, I love that episode, but, like, during episode 5, in 2018, we were having to move my grandma out of her house. And it was a stressful period, not like because anything horrible happened, but my grandma was just not in a good place, and she was, while we were trying to help her move out, she was constantly throwing everything away, even memorabilia and stuff. Airnib was just really freaking weird with all the rules it had, and there was like actual heroin addicts trying to get into my grandma's trash and stuff. So we basically
what the
had to, like,
fuck?
No, yeah, I'm not even kidding. Like, so, like, she lived originally at this one point.
Okay, I don't put it past you because it's... I don't put it past you because it's Georgia.
No, it was in Florida. So
that makes even more sense.
Yeah, but like it was in this really bad part of Florida, which is saying something. Like there was like actual people, like I would catch a couple of them, like literally popping a vein and just like looking at all the garbage that was on the front that we were supposed to like throw away and such. It was insane. It was just one of those. It was ridiculous because we were also trying to keep my grandma from getting real mad and stuff. So I went with her sometimes to just get like drinks, all that kind of stuff, like Coke and all that kind of stuff,
Rust,
and just
again,
trying
trying to understand how this thing was made makes you a lot more softer on, the final product, because they had to go through hell and back to write this. That's why nobody intends to make a shitty thing in the end. Like, most things aren't even meant to be a bad product. It just happens.
Oh yeah, just sometimes things happen. Like I think about like Frozen for an example. I don't really think a whole lot about Disney anymore since I'm not really a kid. My sisters are more into Disney than I am. But like Frozen 2 for an example, like I don't like Frozen a whole lot, right? But I will give it more credit where credit is due. Like when looking behind the scenes, it definitely seems like they had more of a vision they wanted to do to try to actually like make it like more mean something than the first one. But then due to time constraints and things like that and issues that were going on, it definitely they were kind of forced to kind of downgrade themselves in a weird way, which is unfortunate because I feel like if they had the time and they actually did more of the stuff that they wanted to do, it could have actually made Frozen 2 a bit better in my eyes, because I didn't hate it, but it was like, this is just Frozen again, slightly better.
The mythology side of Frozen 2 was the most interesting thing about it.
No, yeah, and then it was kind of like, I feel like they could have done more, but it was like the one thing that made me like wonder, like, oh, they actually could do something with this, because like they basically took away what made like the original, like they still have the same like Frozen based off of like like the Ice Queen and stuff. You know, like with the Frozen mirror.
Are
And
you
things
trying
like
to
that.
say?
Like,
Are you trying to say that the first Frozen had mystery and the second one destroys it?
in a weird, not necessarily weird way, it's just like I feel like because like they even admitted at points like they didn't know who like the mysterious verse was supposed to be. It was just like they're trying to spitball ideas, but like they didn't seem to have a solid idea to a certain point. By that point, it was like, oh shit, we got to make a movie essentially.
Oh
Which
shit, we
sucks
gotta make a movie.
no, but really, if you look at the documentary on like Disney Plus, because there's actually like a documentary where they even talk about these issues specifically, it's a little bit frustrating because I feel bad for them because I feel like if they had more time to bake it in the oven, I feel like Frozen 2 could have been a really good sequel and probably could have outdone the first one because I feel like it would have been interesting. But
I am
it's not
astonished
bad,
that
but
I'm astonished that Disney, allowed them to be honest about the production because when you think of
I'm
like
surprised. I mean,
when
there's
you
some
think of
points.
when you think of like when you think of like behind the scenes stuff like and like advertisements, you would expect like them to pretend to care and drag for reasons for like to make
Well,
it sound exciting, but they were honest. Yeah.
I mean, they were still hyping it up and stuff, but like they were still explaining some of the issues, but they did in their best way not to try to be like, oh, this is all Disney's fault, but like you could tell they're like, oh god, they're forcing us to get this done because like there's one line the guy said that like we've never missed a deadline, we're certainly not missing one now. You could tell that was him like like trying to be nice about like they're making us get this done immediately without it being like seeming like they were blaming it on Disney. It was like it seemed to be a joke, but you could tell that like especially from all they said. It was definitely like, oh wow, they were really pressed to try to get this movie out at a certain time, which makes sense. But yeah, it was just very interesting watching the documentary and seeing the whole thing. But yeah, you definitely become more soft and understanding about like the creative process. Even if you don't like something, you'd be like, okay, I can understand where things altered here and there and why this is the result of that and all that. It's just one of those things.
Wreck-It Ralph 2 is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. However, I feel it wasn't supposed to be that type of movie because it had a whole bunch of different ideas it was going for. And
Yes.
okay, they made it into what it is because there was a section in Wreck-It Ralph where they were going to have Ralph and Vanellope go to the dead Disney Infinity website, and then Disney's thought, oh, we can make this a Disney crossover movie. And, that's what happened.
That really should not have been what happened, but you know what? It did, and it's like
Disney Infinity was pretty fun. Yeah?
No, yeah, but like it was, but like I'm saying is like I freaking loved Wreck-It Ralph. Like the first movie, I still love it to this day. But like the sequel, like it's like it had the potential to be some of those like, oh cool, maybe this could actually be another really good Disney sequel. But it's not. But then it's like, oh, it's just Disney's version of the Emoji Movie. Basically, it doesn't feel like a movie that like actually has something to say, like the first one did. It just feels like, oh, okay.
Is that your phone?
Hold on, give me a second.
Oh my god, that is your phone. This is why this guy is a good man. Your mama made cookies?
Yes, she did. Apparently, she made cookies. I have no idea why.
Oh, that's so sweet. Anyway, back to this thingy we're doing. I want to ask another question concerning Unbreakable Iron Ranger. Do you feel that American mythology is such an untapped material and it has so much potential to tell great stories?
Yes. Like there,
Yes.
so like one of my favorites. So like it's gonna be told more in Crips and Cowboys, but like when I started Unbreakable Iron Ranger, the focus was kind of more on like like generic universal monsters, even though not all of them are used. Like most of them are in this group called the Night Riders. But the idea was like I really love monsters and myths and fiction because. Sorry, I had to take a big breath. I was like running out of breath. But like, when I was a kid, I really loved reading about Greek mythology and Norse mythology. I loved learning about that kind of stuff. And so I always loved learning about these monsters and things like that. Like when I was a kid, this was my fixation when I started getting out of Thomas the Tank Engine. It wasn't like Transformers. It wasn't Marvel Comics. It was just Bionicle. And the freaking lore that Bionicle had, the whole freaking like, like you didn't have to cut me off and like all the aliens and shit. That was Bionicle for me.
Rust, I was there. Rust, I was there playing Bionicle online.
No, I know, but like like it was just one of those things that like the mythos, the characters, the lore, like the freaking deep lore stuff. It like obviously it was one of those things that got me really invested in mythologies and things like that. And then again, you also had like Lord of the Rings and all that. And then One Piece, with how it started doing its world building and stuff, got me more inspired to try to do my own stuff with that mythos making. And so, even though there's not a whole lot of heavy cryptids specifically tied to America in Unbreakable Iron Ranger, it's still more about like the whole cryptid underbelly at the very least. Like, there's still some cryptids based off of American mythos. Like, you got Tama based off of like the whole alligator. There's like a cryptid in, I think it's like either South Carolina or something like that. It's like this lizard person sort of thing. But I think it's in the Bible Belt somewhere actually. But that whole thing, like there's a lizard creature, and so that's what Tom is based off of there. Ben's more based off of Billy the Kid, and also Billy the Kid himself. Hayes' mentor is actually based off of John Henry. I don't know. Do you actually know about the whole legend of John Henry?
Of course I do. I always watch that Disney short about John Henry with the giant hammer, and that song's been stuck in my head ever since.
Oh yeah, but like John Henry, that was cookie stuck in my throat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, John Henry was. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, John Henry was another one of those mythos that was ingrained and still in here. Then there's also things like Schrodinger's cat, like Paradox Schrodinger, based off of Schrodinger's cat, dead or alive sort of thing. But she teleports, and that's based off of that cat that's literally called Schrodinger from Hellsing.
Hey, curiosity. When growing up, did you watch those American Legends Disney shorts?
Oh, the American Legends Disney shorts? Actually, no, I did not, actually.
I think you should. I feel if you were a kid, it would have ignited your interest in American history even more. Because,
it probably would, because,
John Henry, Johnny Appleseed, Casey Jones.
Oh, yeah, it probably would have, because, growing up, I was already very heavily invested in, American history. Like, growing up, I would, obviously, when you're homeschooling, your mom, when you're in the right sort of homeschooling mindset, your mom always makes sure you're learning something. Like, you're not just twiddling your thumbs, just dicking around. You're, learning something. So, that was one of the things we learned a lot about, American government, American history, and things like that. So, we would watch stuff like Liberty Kids. Time Warp Trio was another one of my favorite shows, even though it wasn't just American history. It was just time traveling and learning about history. But tons of things like that really got my brain going, learning about that kind of process. And that's also what ties into this series. It's just a lot of, the American development stuff. It's kind of crazy because, irony is there's a lot of focus on America's history and how cryptids tied to it. That's the whole idea with the world. But then I never came up with the idea of Roosevelt helping create the USC until literally a couple months ago. I'm kind of kicking myself in the foot for not thinking that sooner, because I'm realizing that makes way too much sense.
Rust,
why the hell didn't I think about doing that earlier?
Rust, I absolutely love that you made Roosevelt look like Eggman.
Well, because the thing is, obviously you probably know, but Eggman was based off of Roosevelt, so now it's just kind of full circle, because I feel like that's the more fun way of drawing Roosevelt in my style.
Yes.
Because I can't really do realistic caricatures of people, so I'm just gonna draw him like Eggman, but more skinny, because that's kind of what Eggman's supposed to be, just fat Roosevelt.
Have you ever actually read or seen the Abraham Lincoln story where he is a vampire killer?
I have heard about it, but also I'm even for me, it's kind of oh, that looks really dumb. I don't know if I'm going to watch it or not.
Even for your standards, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, because I freaking love Von Helsing, the 2004 Hugh Jackman movie, and not everyone likes it. I'm oh man, this looks stupid. I look at the Abraham Lincoln movie, and I'm wow, this looks really dumb.
Man, the dude who helped free the slaves is now killing vampires. What's the deal with that?
I mean, what's the deal with vampires?
I remember this one time, there's this Kickstarter for this one comic this person was doing called Anne Frankenstein.
What the fuck?
It's about
Hold
Anne
on.
making monsters.
I'm looking this up. I'm looking this up now.
Yeah,
Anne Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's what it's called. And it's about her making a Frankenstein monster and fighting other monsters.
Some sort of FM radio person. Hold on. Was it Indiegogo or Kickstarter?
I think it was either Indiegogo or Kickstarter, but
Diary of Anne Frankenstein. Holy shit, it's on Indiegogo. Oh my god, I gotta figure what... It's loading.
Did it I wonder if it actually made its money back.
Oh my god. No, it did not.
Aw.
It's literally only made $215. I don't know when this happened, but like,
And if you died, how would you feel if someone made you into a monster slayer?
I mean, I feel like I would be pretty honored because it's like, oh wow, that's cool.
But yeah,
I can't really.
What?
I tried to look at the page. There's really not much. Like it's closed, so I can't really look at anything else for some reason. That's weird.
Yeah, there's not much to know other than the title and the synopsis, which I think it's really bizarre. But I guess it kind of makes the Abraham Lincoln story look not that dumb, huh?
It kind of does.
All this questioning about American media has now gotten me a bit curious. Would you draw Abraham Lincoln and make him look like Lincoln from Clone High?
I would actually. I fucking love Clone High. That's another one of my favorite series.
How do you feel about the reboot coming out?
I'm hoping it's really good. I'm really excited for it still, but there's there's a lot of things that come out and they reboot. It's like, oh, it's either gonna be really good or really bad. And so like with Clone High, I'm like, please don't fuck this up. I love it. It was like a genuinely funny show. It was very smart in the sense.
A character design director is the same person that did a lot of work for the new Mickey Mouse shorts, so I think it'll
Oh
be
my
fine.
god, yes.
Yeah. Tara
yeah, like-
Billinger.
Yeah, I love her. But like, yeah, I love her. But still, like I was saying, I freaking love Clone High. I just hope that it's done right, because I don't want
All
to just
right.
be like, oh, it's great, and it's a provide, and it's just like I didn't get what made it funny.
This interview is taking a lot longer than I thought, which is fine because talking with you is a treat. So let's
Sorry.
embrace it. Don't apologize, okay? Because now I want to know what your thoughts on movies like Team America is.
Are we talking about like that's not? I'm trying to remember if it's like
The puppet movie by the South Park guys.
I have not seen that yet, and I really want to. I'm kind of mad I haven't seen it because.
Well, I think you should because I think it does a pretty damn good job being both a celebration and commentary on the recklessness of America.
That's what I'm told. Basically, it's basically just like this fun movie parodying like those America like government spy movies, kind of like Top Gun and shit.
Yeah.
Not Top Gun specifically, but you know what I mean, like in that vein. But also
Exactly.
just kind of. I want to watch it because it seems like it's actually hilarious. Like the only thing I've seen some things. The only thing I know about it is just like a few clips of like what was the name of the dictator that was in North
Kim
Korea
Jong-il?
at that time? Kim Jong-il. Yeah. I'd like the little clips of the Puppet Man, the puppet version of Kim Jong-il. Like I've only seen stuff like that in the song. I haven't
So
seen a whole
Ronry.
lot else. Yeah, I'm Sharon. Like, the whole
Do
fucking
not
thing.
cancel this man. He is too pure for this world. Please.
No, but still, I want to watch that. I mean, I love South Park, so
It's on HBO
I'm
Max.
surprised that happened because like I've seen like I've listened and seen the Book of Mormon, and that's fucking hilarious. But I haven't seen a Team America. I really should.
It's on HBO Max, so you might as well.
I should.
All right, and have you heard of America the Motion Picture? It's done by the Archer. It's a movie done by the Archer guys.
Yeah. So it's like I know about that because I was actually really excited and I wanted to see it, but then I didn't see it because I'm dumb when it comes to keeping up with things. But I saw it and it looked really interesting because it was just obviously the most like we're just gonna go off the walls with this, and it actually had a very similar style to like Motor City. So I was like, okay, I'm on this. This looks really fun.
When I first heard of it, I thought it was gonna do that thing that okay, I'm gonna get kind of personal here. A lot of media that I've seen in recent years tend to not only be critical of America, but critical of America, and that's it. Where that's fine and all, but I guess they never really encourage. I guess they never like encourage some sort of like a silver lining to just sort of make things better, which is what I have a problem with. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get criticizing America because America can be very stupid, but it's also kind of like just it feels like you're just criticizing and there's no other point to it. Like it's just like okay, it's like that one little image of like Tyler Creator going like okay, just like that whole thing. It's just like so what's the point?
Yeah, I think you summed it up nicely. However, this movie is not that. Yeah, it's critical of our country, and yes, it's also a celebration of the country, but I don't know, it's much less subtle than Team America, if you could believe that, but it's not as anti-America as one would fear it might be. It has a lot of jokes. Yeah?
I saw the trailer, like, it didn't look, like, I didn't get the impression of it being just like, oh, we hate America. It just literally looks like the most stereotypical, like, what if Japan made a movie about America's founding? but it's not a Western. But I'm not joking. Like, it just literally seems like that kind of whole stereotype. Like Texas Max sort of thing. Just I freaking love it. I was like, I need to see this movie, but I haven't. But I think since with 4th of July coming up, I'm gonna see it because it looks really fun. Like I said, it looks everything up my alley. Like the animation style looks very reminiscent of like Motor City, and so I'm like, this.
I'll say this.
Like
I'll say this: the jokes in America, the motion picture, like if you know your politics and American history, the jokes will make you go, "Oh man, really?" Not like like a groany type of moan, but it's a funny. Like you still think it's funny despite it being very groany. If that makes sense.
I think I know what you're talking about. Like where it's like, okay, they're trying to be like, oh, it's American politics, but it's actually funny. Like I think I can know what you're getting at there.
It's funny, but it's funny, but it's
true,
but it's like, oh man, you're really going that far, huh?
Yeah.
And now that you mentioned, yeah.
I think I'll enjoy that movie though. Like I said, I was really hyped for that movie, so I think I'll enjoy it.
All right, I'm glad I reminded you to watch that and Team America, because I think both will definitely be huge influences for Unbreakable Iron Ranger. Anyway, how does it feel that me and you are the only Get a Robo fans out there?
There's like 3 other people I know, but it's fun. I'm still kind of mad. I mean, I'm glad at least that like Get a Robo R came out, because even though the animation wasn't necessarily the best, it still brought a lot more people to seeing Get a Robo. Like when it came out, I was like trying to get people to watch it and such. We still have to do an event in my server where it's like we're gonna watch the Get a Robo Armageddon specifically, because someone actually has all 13 episodes, both dubbed and subbed.
I have the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I do too now. But like even before, like someone actually had all the episodes downloaded to their computer, ready to go, sort of thing. But we just haven't had the time to plan that. We were originally gonna like watch stuff like that up to the point that the anime came out, but that didn't happen.
Well, better get on that then.
Yeah, we'll try to.
But yeah, Get a Robo Armageddon is an OVA that is one of my top favorite anime, and the dub is pure cheese ham sandwich. It's one of the best. I remember we were when you and I first talked planning, a collab for our Get a Robo retrospective. We kind of just went off rambling about, Get a Robo, and you said something about how the dub in this one scene where the main dude Ryoma said something about the Pied Piper, and he just went off shooting everyone, and it was that moment it wired you in.
Oh yeah, it's just like well, actually, it was more like the scenes with like Saltame, like going off the Shakespearean thing, and that actually makes sense because apparently a number of the actors actually were used to knew each other through musical theater and such. So I think with a little bit, I can't remember if they actually did Shakespearean training or not, but like you could definitely tell that there was some of that like grandiose acting, and I was like all for it. I was like, oh man, this is really good. And then the whole it's time to pay the piper, and then Ryoma coming like, pipe down,
old man,
you're the one that has to pay. Like that just, I was like, oh my god, I'm in. This is not the best scripted dub, but it's the best voice acted dub, and I'm in for this.
There's so much passion behind the dub. In fact, Get a Robo Arc, for as janky of animation it is, I could still feel the passion behind it. What's the deal with that?
I mean, what's the deal with that? Yeah, but you definitely tell people that were working on it, even though they didn't have the best budget, they really cared about Get a Robo. Like, you could tell.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like the jankiness, not gonna lie.
Oh, I do too, to be honest. It's also kind of reminiscent of, like, this isn't meant to be a diss at Ken at all, but, like, like, when you look at his comment, like, when you read his stuff, like, you could tell that, like, he really knows his stuff how to drop. But there's still moments of, like, little slight jank, but it's very endearing, and that kind of happens in the anime too. It's like there's that slight endearment with the whole jank there. It's like it's not meant to be because like they're being lazy. It's just like they're really trying here, but then there's like whatever reason, because of like budget cuts or time constraints, they're still working, trying to make it feel like Get a Robo as possible, and I still love it because of it.
I still find it weird that they didn't actually get Hiroyuki Imaishi on board for a Get a Robo thing, because wasn't Get a Robo like a huge
I know, right? I'm sorry.
I get Trigger is a busy company, but still, studio.
But like Imaishi was literally one of literally one of Ishikawa's assistants. So I'm like, where was he?
Wait. Imaishi assisted Ishikawa where?
He assisted him on the manga. Like back when like Ishikawa was still alive and breathing, he actually assisted with like doing stuff like that on the manga.
What the fuck?
Yeah, seriously, that's why there's so many like in like Gurren Lagann. That's why there's like not. I mean, it's obviously a big superhero, like a super robot homage, but like it's partly because Imayashi really loved working on Getter Robo and stuff like that, and that was another part of his influence and whole thing there, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where some of that information went to. So it's like, yeah, I can't believe that Imayashi wasn't a part of the Arc series. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of like time constraints or something. But like, I'm like, damn. Why wasn't that the case? You just made me realize, like, what the fuck?
Working on the cyberpunk anime.
Cyberpunk.
Which by the way, that anime looks fucking awesome. I've heard so much about cyberpunk, like, oh, it's the biggest tragedy ever, and I'm just sitting here thinking, but the anime looks great.
Oh yeah, it looks great. I have nothing about like, I really don't know anything about cyberpunk. I mean, I know about like how the game kind of happened.
Yeah, the game happened.
Like, I didn't really care much about the game. This could sound awful. For a second, but like I was looking at all the hype around Cyberpunk. I was like, this is gonna end up being like a No Man's Sky situation probably. And I was, I mean, I was just looking at like I wasn't being mean. I was just like, I didn't really care about it. So I didn't have like the same sort of like hype for it. But I was just kind of looking at like, this is gonna be so bad if it fails because it feels like it's gonna fail, and it kind of did.
You're a prophet.
Yeah, not always. I thought Pokemon Sword and Shield was gonna actually be really good, and look what happened there.
Right. So during our conversation we had that first time, I knew we would be friends from all the stuff we would be talking about. You were talking about humbling yourself, the fun of making original stories, and the passion behind some of our favorite stories. Can we talk about that thing where you talked about humbling yourself? Because I remember you would when you made Tomboy Mandalorian. That was definitely like a jab at Anita Sharkeisha, but you did it in a way that wasn't, that owned you. Like, you weren't, like, fucking... Well,
to be honest, like, I don't remember if I said it there, but, like, I literally forgot it was her. I didn't realize that was the person that was making the joke. I just saw it, I was like, it would be funny if I did this. Because I literally was like, it's kind of stupid. I just want to do this just to have some fun. I wasn't thinking it was going to blow up at all, and I didn't realize who it was until, like, a day later. I don't remember if it was, like, a day later or, like... It was sometime after I posted. I was like, oh, I forgot that she existed.
Yeah, so did everyone else, but they only get reminded of her when some white guy talks about how much she's wrong.
Like, I wasn't trying to be like that. Like, I wasn't trying to like be this guy that was like trying to be like a epic own. I was just like, I want to do something funny. It's like I was kind of tired of like seeing this kind of stuff happen. I was just like, I want to do something funny. It ended up being funny.
It did end up being funny, and Anita Sarkeesian did nothing wrong. Anyway, you know what I like about you? You don't dehumanize people critical of your art, all because they thought your boobs were too big. I wish more artists could not be as bitter about criticism towards their anatomy as you. So, like, how are you? Like, how do you have such a positive and uplifting outlook on art and criticism?
I'm not gonna complain. I'm not like I can't speak today. I've been on the internet lurking since I was like all the way back on like Lego message board forums. So I've been online for a long time, and I've just seen how people have interacted online and how typically like if you cause a scene, people are gonna draw more attention to it and more negative reaction. Like if you react negatively, then it's gonna be kind of like a shitstorm even more. Like there was one. There was a 4chan thread that was made about me, and people were criticizing my art style and stuff because I was right around when I was wanting to try to submit to Image. That didn't happen, obviously. But there's apparently a thread that I missed on 4chan. Apparently they were like very critical of me, making fun of me and stuff. There were some that actually offered genuine criticism, but it was like one of those threads where it was just kind of like a lot of anonymous people just hating on me and just like criticizing me. And obviously I don't want to just be like, oh, they're my haters. It's just they didn't like me. They didn't like my art style, and I could get where they have the perception like thinking that I was like being too high and mighty in myself, even though it really wasn't. But I do get where their criticisms were coming from and such. But I was also looking like I could either try to make a big ordeal out of this, or I could just move on and take the actual genuine criticism and just move on, because I feel like that's it. Because like the problem is like a lot of people will end up seeing criticism about themselves and they'll try to react to it or any kind of trolling or anything like that. And I saw that like growing up a lot. Like I said, I've been online since being on Lego message board forums around 2006. So like when I'm talking, so like I've been around for some time, just lurking on the internet, seeing how people act and such. So I know that like there, from way too many examples and seeing people just react poorly, they'll get more attention essentially, and not the good kind of attention. Because like if you react to criticism of you, whether that's positive or negative, like someone trying to be positive, trying to be like, hey, we're trying to help you out, or someone trying to be negative, you can either react to it positively or don't react, or just react and look really stupid. There's a Bible verse, and my dad makes sure that I remember every day, and it's from Proverbs, but it's basically like better to be thought of as a fool than to open your mouth and reveal to everybody that you are a fool. I'm paraphrasing essentially, but it's still a very important proverb that I've been trying to my best to remember.
All
Which
right.
essentially like which essentially is like you could either speak, you could so everyone in a sense is knowledgeable at everything, right? So you could either just let it roll off of you and just keep your mouth shut and stop the drama before it starts, or you could let your pride get the better of you, trying to act like you know it all, and potentially, more than likely, make yourself look like an even bigger fool, or that you actually are stupid.
You know what,
And
Rust? I feel a lot of internet arguments happen because the person instigating the argument is butthurt because he feels that the other person is right, but he wants to try to, not believe that by trying to make the other person look bad by saying, "Oh, you're
sometimes
stupid."
that definitely can happen. That definitely, like I said, I've seen a lot of arguments, and sometimes it can boil down easily to that. It just comes down to people's own pride, like whether they are actually right or wrong. They get prideful. That's just an emotion that we all as humans feel. So they get very prideful, and they want to show that they are actually right or wrong, and they get offended because they feel like their pride's been hurt in some way. Like I said, that's why I bring up the whole criticism. Like some people could just be very calm and reasonable with their criticisms, but then some people can react to that criticism poorly because they think, oh, it's just bad criticism. And like especially when you blow up, like when you get bigger and bigger and bigger, sometimes voices get more muddled essentially. Like you sometimes I do get it because like I know a lot of people are like, how can they not understand the difference between the haters and stuff? But like when you're receiving all that kind of stuff like quickly and you're starting to grow numbers and stuff, it does become muddy and ambiguous in a weird sense. Like I remember experiencing that with like all my Mandalorian stuff. Like I didn't get a lot of hate comments there from me, but I started blowing up. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa! Like it just started growing, and I had to remember to try to rebalance myself. I'm not gonna say I always did it perfectly, but whenever you get that growth, there you sometimes get caught in the dopamine of it. You get caught in the high of it, or you just get caught in the rush, and so things blur together. People that are very static and don't offer any criticisms seem like they're just in support of you and they don't want anything wrong to you. But in reality, they may not all be trying to help. They're just like, oh man, we idolize you and that's it. But then because of that, the criticism, like the genuine criticism and the hate can get muddied, and you just assume that anyone that is pointing out flaws, whether intentionally to make you look bad because they want to see you improve, it gets muddied because you no longer see the context of that, especially if you're getting like tons of messages like that every day.
Yeah, I
It's just one. It's one of those things. It's like and that's why my dad that verse is important. It's because It's better to just keep yourself calm, collected, and to not either think of a better response or just not respond at all, than to actually open your mouth and do something stupid and basically confirm, yes, you are in fact an idiot. It's better for people to just debate about it than actually doing something stupid and just confirming it, essentially.
It's one
That's
thing
what
to be
happened.
a critic, and it's another to be an artist, because once you're an artist, you get to realize all the hardships, and the critics don't exactly see that because they haven't really
Yeah,
made stuff. But when they make stuff, they suddenly get it, and they could be soft. But damn, I've seen Anons and others say that stuff deserves criticism, and trying to say that people worked hard on it does not mean that they are devoid to get any criticism. And I mean, you can criticize someone and still humanize them and understand why this thing happened. I mean, criticism shouldn't be a punishment. You can't be punishment for making a bad movie.
I
You
get
shouldn't.
that.
You shouldn't have to apologize for a bad movie either.
I think I do get where you're coming from in that as well, but also, this is also where it's just for me learning from different perspectives. I understand where, and sometimes in their own very misguided way, of like trying to come about. They're like sometimes like there are some people that just really like they don't need criticism, but they do end up needing the criticism in order to improve and get better. And there's something like and as Total Biscuit said, and criticism does help make an industry better. Now that doesn't mean that all criticism is good, but criticism in fact does help make things better. It's the best way. You have to learn, get that feedback, in order to continue growing and improving and stuff. So you have to have it. So in that sense, it's right, but it's also kind of like the whole the customer's always right phrase. A lot of people are saying nowadays like, oh, it's actually like the customer's buying the hat, so the customer's always right sort of thing. And that if they buy something stupid, well, then they're right. Then you just have to accept that and let them move on, not argue with them on that. If they're going to buy it, they're going to buy it. But even so, that goes the same way about the criticism. Like, criticism is important, but delivery is also important in understanding where the creator is coming from, what they're trying to produce. Because if you don't understand, because it's important to try to understand, if possible, the development that went through it and all that kind of stuff, because it helps understand if they were actually trying to do what you were criticizing them for, like what they need to improve on. They may have already been trying to do it during the production of something, but it ended up faltering and failing. Or
Yes.
sometimes it doesn't happen, or they just are really arrogant, or they just don't really think about that, and they're really new, and so they need to learn about that criticism. They need to be given that advice, and that's important. Because it's online, it's very easy to separate things, easy, but like it's also because of that, it's easy to separate the creator and their process, and by that I mean you just see the finished product. It's easy to immediately see all the issues with the final product. Like there's the joke about artists will have, like how artists have like only 3 jokes and such, but like they will like one of the jokes being like, oh, when you finish your piece and you see all the mistakes. But that's true, because during the moment you may not see the mistakes. You just see, okay, we're finally getting along, progress is good, and then you finally finish it, and then sometimes you'll be like, oh shit, look at all these failures, look at all these flaws and stuff. Look, I forgot to color in this. I left lines there. Or sometimes you just don't think that at all. You think, and you say, "Oh, that's a part of the whole process. There, that's intended." It's just one of those things.
It's
And I think
it's being an artist after being so critical for a while definitely helps me ease up and realize that creativity isn't dying, and people aren't trying to destroy creativity because they're creative destroying monsters. There's no the feminists are not going to take away your boobies, you know. And one more thing, when it comes to criticism is good, and you got to keep on improving. Is there a limit to how much you can improve? Like, are you trying to improve to be the best thing ever, or do you just never stop improving?
That's something. When I was younger, I was constantly trying to. Two inspirations of mine that I was wanting to try to get onto was like Murata and Hirohiko Araki. Like I'm talking like modern day Hirohiko Araki, where Hirohiko Araki is. Sorry, I love saying Hiraki's full name like that. It's a fun name to say. Hirohiko Araki, Hirohiko Araki. But like Araki's work nowadays, it's gorgeous. Same thing with Murata's. It's like absolutely stunning, gorgeous artwork that has a lot of effort and time put into it. And I was trying so hard to be like that. Then I also realized, with my current style now, some people may think, oh, it's more simplified, or like I preferred when he did cell shading and stuff. But sometimes you got to realize that as an artist, you need to work and focus on creating stuff that you like to make. Now, obviously, there is, with that, you have to be careful of not just sliding so hard into like, I just want to get very artsy fartsy that you forget about important stuff when it comes to art. 'Cause, believe it or not, there are actual, like, in terms of composition, actual rules to art that make art engaging and presentable to the eye. I'm not talking about like do's and don'ts of art, like subject matter. I'm talking about like, like things like line work and coloring and things like that. There's a science to art in a weird way in order to make good art that catches people's eye and makes it remember it. Because there's obviously stuff that.
Have you ever seen Mike and Melissa?
I don't think I have, no.
Okay, it was a college short, and there was a scene where this dude was making fun of composition class, and the teacher is saying, this rectangle is this rectangle is the fucking best thing ever, and the short itself looks very bad composition-wise. I just thought that was like a funny thing, and you're right. Composition is important, and sometimes it takes more effort to simplify something than it is to just completely copy it.
Oh yeah, exactly. And there's sometimes like there's some people that will like simplify and slow down, like kind of cut their art in half in a weird way. Part of it's because of like they're getting busier and stuff, so they have to find streamlining effects. And either this can end up looking really well, and end up with some really bad examples and stuff where the art actually does. I know that everyone says like beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but you could definitely tell in some cases where art style degrades in terms of like application and skill. Like people either do genuinely get lazy, or they are misguided in how they go about it. It's important, like, for example, like I already said it earlier, I freaking love Imayashi's art style, but it's deceptively simple. Same thing with Mike Mignola's work. Like, they're deceptively simple art styles. You think, okay, so it's just flat colors, and then just it's flat colors and just black shading. But then you find out that it's the way that the shading works and the line art, the composition. There's a science in itself on that. Like Imayashi's art style is very dynamic, and there is a compositional flow to it. Like when you look at some of his pieces, like Dead Leaves, for example. I have a full art book by him, but like there's a couple of Dead Leaves posters and such, or like him working on the Gurren Lagann eye catches. You could tell there's like an actual method to the madness.
Hey Rust, is that the same art book that has the pink text on the side?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I got that too. It's so good.
Oh no, yeah, it's freaking great. Was one of those books that helped me really boost my art style, like got me more motivated. But like just looking at it, you can definitely like. I mean, obviously you can look at people's arts online, but like when you really take your time to sit down and examine someone's art style, like Imayashi and Mike Mignola, you can definitely tell that like there is a science going on here. One of the things I love doing that you probably might see with my style, even though it's not like fully Western stuff, because like in Western stuff they focus a lot on shapes and that kind of composition, but Imayashi was also based off of that too, even though you can tell it's more of an Eastern style. I got influenced by that with a lot of my character designs, because there was one point in time a lot of my characters were much more rubber hose, oddly enough. Part of that was because of Cuphead and Sonic and having a big fixation on that in like 2017, and also Samurai Jack. But
Rust, I am so happy that
Rust,
I am so happy that you generalize the West art style as like having a bunch of shapes and noodles and stuff. You didn't just say simple cal arts, whatever, because I'm tired of that.
I mean, like, I will say there are the whole cal arts thing. There is a weird method to the madness, because there are unfortunately some people that came from that, but that's not every single art style is associated with cal arts that has art style. Like not everyone from cal arts does that art style. I think that's just one of the things of like the internet getting way too streamlined, and of course generalizations like that. Western art styles definitely are. Western art styles definitely.
You speak. I'm sorry.
Right. I was just gonna say, like, for the most part, Western art styles, they're much more shape driven, and obviously there's differences to that. I mean, like, there's more realistic art styles, like when you look at, like, say, comics, for example, like superhero comics or things like that. Like, not everything is super realistic, but you can tell there's more of a focus on trying to keep things more grounded in like reality. Sometimes it's much more exaggerative, but it still has that basis of reality. But for the most part, Western art styles have a method to focusing on anatomy. Part of that comes back from early in the 1920s and 30s and stuff, with a lot of thanks to animation. But like the early animation of Rubber Hose, they were trying to simplify things down to make things easier to animate. That's why Rubber Hose is called Rubber Hose in a sense, because everything's kind of like noodly, and there's things like principles of animation, like with Max Fleischer, with how in order to animate characters, you have to think of it like a flag moving and such in certain cases. I'm going over different terms, but I'm basically saying it in order to make a good simplification. Like Western art styles are heavily based off of shapes more so. It's one of those things.
So West is based off of shapes. What is the East based off of?
Oddly enough, the East, like if you look at older art styles, like in paintings and stuff, there is a similar theory about composition. And while there is more stylization, I would say it's just more about like capturing beauty in a sense. Like in that part, like you get to now. Obviously, the weird thing is like with Japan specifically, because of after WW2, a lot of imported stuff from America came over to Japan, like namely cartoons and stuff. And when they finally started doing more manga and anime adaptations, they actually based some of their styles off of like older cartoons and things like that, which is kind of funny because whenever people were like, "Oh man," go in the differences between Western and manga, they have interchanged a lot. Like there's been a lot of crossbreeding, and in fact, even earlier on, like way before animations, cartoons, and stuff like started fully existing, there's kind of some of that similar stuff happening, like it's just more like artwork and such, like in like posters and things like that. People had fascinations with each other's cultures, even though it was more smaller then. Same thing. It's kind of interesting because like early on, you had stuff like freaking I can't speak today. Like you had stuff like Tetsujin 21. You had not 21, 28. Then you had like Cyborg 009.
009.
Yeah, 009 and Devilman stuff. Like Go Nagai is one of those guys that's credited like seemingly based off of like having a much more cartoony and loosey style. But
Go Nagai's my hero.
Oh yeah, I love Go Nagai. I'm not saying anything to diss him there. I'm just saying like that's one of those guys that a lot of people like for his cartoony style in that sense. But it was based off of Western sensibilities mixed with their own Eastern sensibilities in a sense, and
I
that's what
had
makes
to
it so.
I had to write down Western captures the shape of art and Eastern captures the beauty of art, and they've been interchanging ever since because I think that definitely puts everything into perspective for me because when it comes to Eastern art, I've always noticed that it's very cute and very
Yeah.
human and pretty-ish. It has some sort of weird thing that I think appeals to a lot of people, and then stupid people are like, ooh, the East cares about cute and the West cares about ugly. Fuck right off. I want to find you so I could make you my bitch.
Like I will. Here's the thing. I do understand because like sometimes, especially with like adult cartoons, because they feel like they have to make their stuff look more ugly in order to be like, oh, not like the cute kitty stuff. Because there are cartoons that are like that. That feel like they have to do that in order to make their stuff look more distinct and more adult. It's kind of like the same fallings and trappings of like, in order to make an adult cartoon, we got to make it really raunchy and stuff. And it's that kind of falling, which which unfortunately causes more misconceptions because that's not the case with all animation. There's more to animation than that.
Rust,
Like you and I
I'm-
both know that. It's just
Rust, I
it's
am so
frustrating.
happy that you said that adult cartoons are not ugly just because they want to be like Family Guy and The Simpsons. Like,
Yeah,
that
it's
is
just
actually an insightful take.
I mean, there are. I will say that some things will definitely have more of a. You could definitely tell some things are trying to be like the next Family Guy, but that's also kind of like based off of this whole thing. Like anything's trying to be like the next thing. Like there's like Disney, for example, fell off for a moment, and they were trying to be like Shrek. Everyone was trying to be like Shrek because Shrek was so good, it broke the mold. But then everybody was trying to replicate it without understanding why it made it work. Same thing with like The Simpsons or Family Guy and things like that. Now, part of the ugliness of some cartoons is just because like, well, we want to make ourselves look more like we're not for babies and stuff, but they do try to replicate the success of like other cartoons. The same thing with like Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty in its first couple seasons was a really good show, and everyone was trying to copy off that. And I feel like I hate it, but like I feel like with Smiling Friends, for an example, really freaking good show. But I feel like people are gonna try to replicate it, but not understand what makes the show work because everyone just sees like, oh, this is a show, we got to replicate it. That obviously this is a moneymaker, but they don't take the time to examine why it works. And I feel like that's why we keep getting styles that don't really work too well, or that the misconceptions of that. Because a
Not
lot of
even
people for a time thought Shrek was just was bad funny movies, partly because everyone was trying to replicate it poorly, and then you had Shrek the Third. But Shrek's the first second Shrek, and Shrek Forever After are actually really freaking good movies and a great character study. Shrek the Third just sucks, but because of like the copycats, unfortunately, and how the public perception turned about it, it's kind of caused a bad image for it. Even though there's really good movies with Shrek. And the same thing with DreamWorks. DreamWorks can make some really good movies, but because of some of their own faults, like things like Shark Tale and such.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there because I'm like the only person on this planet that actually thought that movie was unironically a good movie. So I'm ready to fight, bro.
Alright, I mean, I enjoy it, but like, I don't think it was that good. Like, in terms of quality, I don't think it's the best, but I do enjoy it though. I think
No,
it's,
I'm
like,
not saying it's the
funny.
best either. I just think it's a neat time capsule, and I might be just saying that because I grew up watching it a lot, and
No, I do get it because I also grew up watching that too a lot. But like, it definitely is a very neat, it's a very interesting time capsule on culture back then, and that's the one thing I can definitely see it's worth it. It's like it's a time capsule basically.
yeah.
But like,
Oh, it's
like I was
trying
to
too
say,
hard to pander. Well, what if I am the person they are pandering to, huh?
but yeah, as I was saying with DreamWorks, like because like I said, there's some misconceptions that have happened. Like and nowadays, people are finally starting to see that DreamWorks is actually a pretty decent animation company and stuff. But like back then, like the 2000s and stuff, it was kind of like this perception of like DreamWorks was kind of like like great value Disney 3D or great value Pixar more specifically. It had, like for it, like you would have great movies that would happen like Shrek and then How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda. But then you would also have movies that are kind of like clearly meant to try to be like rip-offs of things like like ants like ants. That's another thing in itself. Like that was literally the ants and bugs. That was kind of like the whole thing of like trying like revenge stuff. There's all joke with DreamWorks just starting out to be like a revenge piece against Disney, and there's definitely some truth to that. But you could definitely tell early on, and that's kind of partly why it contributes to the whole idea of like, well, it's just kind of like great value Pixar for a long time. Nowadays, because a lot of people that grew up with things like some of the DreamWorks stuff, and like especially the good stuff, like Megamind, Shrek, Megamind, How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, and stuff, we're able to see more of those movies, and time is able to better judge and tell like the actual quality and worth of
Hey, Rust.
DreamWorks. It's yeah.
Have you ever seen The Bad Guys?
I've yet to. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. I'm trying to find piece of like where my fucking. Where's the gun? Ah.
What?
I'll
What?
find- I'll find it.
Are we gonna fight about Shark Tale right now?
No. I have like this little mini figurine of like one of the robots from Gundam, like the very first series. It's missing its arm. It's
Oh, man.
it's kind of a cruddy. It's kind of a cruddy little model guy, but whatever. Anyway, but I've actually been meaning to see The Bad Guys because it actually looks really cool. I just haven't seen it yet. Like the biggest problem with me is like I'll be like, oh wow, that looks so cool. Then I won't see it for like 2 years later. Like a lot of series I love now, I didn't get into for a long time because I'm just lazy. Partly lazy, but partly because my mind doesn't always think to immediately jump on that. So I often get into things a little bit too late, and then I'm like, "Oh, this is really good," and that's just way after the peak. So anytime that I manage to get into something right as the peak happens, it's pure coincidence.
That's me.
Like that's just luck.
That's me. I am if I'm not in a rush to see something, I just wait until it comes out for home release, or I use other methods, Yarhar, and
Yeah.
I saw Bad Guys in theater, and there were not many people in theater, which is nice for me. But oddly enough, the film did really good, which is surprising to me because you would think those types of movies wouldn't do well, but they did, and it's probably because of the furries. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't blame them. Wolf was hot. And every artist I know has a thing for the fox, and there's a listener right now who has a thing for the fox. Hi, Smiler. And I mean, personally, I'm more. Yeah, what?
Like I was saying, I can't speak today. God, I'm trying to speak, but yeah, I'm like, I really do want to see the movie because like I'm really happy that like DreamWorks seems to be having a weird renaissance period. I know that sounds weird, but like it seems like like if you're seeing trailers for like the new Puss in Boots movie, like that looks really hype. I'm like, that looks really fucking good. But like
Well,
they're embracing this new art style. Like they're finally doing Spider-Verse's stuff. And technically, the Peanuts movie, but like that stuff of like trying to actually experiment more with 3D seems to be kicking off a lot more. And DreamWorks seems to be going more into that, and that
They're
makes
trying
me
to pull a
really
guilty
excited.
here.
I mean, basically, yeah. But like, I say Spider-Verse because like that's kind of like the West's equivalent to try to like capturing 2D and 3D. Like they're big. This is their moment, sort of thing. So it's like really exciting to see that, especially like because unironically I freaking love Puss in Boots. I love the Puss in Boots spin-off movie, and so like seeing the animation style was like a little bit off-putting at first. I was like, what? I didn't know how to take it at first, but then rewatching it and like embracing it because like I'm so used to Shrek being in that sort of like uncanny valley realistic style, and the reason why they did it was deliberate because they were trying to like pick the piss out of Disney in a lot of different ways and trying to really emphasize that this was a different version of that kind of like fairy tale story. It was still a really heartfelt story, but they did the style for a reason. It was basically made to be based more off of those medieval paintings and stuff like that. Not paintings.
To be
medieval
perfectly honest,
artwork and stuff.
I kind of like Shrek 1 more than Shrek 2. Shrek 2 is great, but Shrek 1 feels more punkish, and the history behind it is the most interesting thing about it.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with that. I do prefer Shrek 2, but like I do agree with you that there is a lot more intrigue with Shrek 1. And I say that because like I love Shrek 1, but there's definitely a lot of intrigue and that punkish vibe because that's kind of what I was going for. Was trying to be anti-Disney, but it was actually being successful at it. So
Yeah.
it just was really interesting on that. But it also managed to be more than just we're sticking it to try to like show Disney, hey, we can do whatever we want. It was also a very insightful character study as well. It was just really good because it not only made fun of Disney, but also criticized and did honestly as good as Disney could do, if not better in some cases, especially with the character they were doing it with. It wasn't like a traditional Disney character and things like that they were doing a story with. And you know what I mean. I mean, like the characters, like the main villain in that movie is literally named Fuckwad. Essentially.
Yes, and he's tiny. And I want to say, I thought the reason why Shrek became a meme is because all the memes were commentary on how Shrek sold out to capitalism, but I think that was just me overthinking.
I mean, it's in a way, it's just kind of like I don't know how to explain. I mean, Shrek is Shrek. Shrek is love. Shrek is life. I think
Yes.
that it's just Shrek definitely kind of like fell off in a sense because it went from like being this to like hip thing. Like this was the counterculture, and then it became the culture in a sense. Like that's why I brought up the whole. I was talking about the Family Guy and the ugly art styles. Like Family Guy and Simpsons, ironically, were kind of like their own way of counterculture in a sense. Because like back then, obviously you and I weren't old enough when Simpsons was starting, and like how it was significantly a big difference to like the generation difference between like the boomer generation, then Generation X, and then eventually millennials and such. But like mainly for Generation X, that was like their counterculture cartoon actually. So back then it was really like this big thing and stuff, and then it became now it's kind of like a visage of like nostalgic days, especially now that Disney's using it. And it's just kind of one of those things that Shrek kind of became that in a weird way when it started becoming more kiddish, because originally it was supposed to be more adult and more punkish in a sense. Like it was trying to be like, oh, we're not like Disney, and then it became kind of like Disney in a weird sense. You know what I mean?
I
Not
know
like
exactly
fully, but
what
like
you mean.
like marketability and things like that. It just focused more on appealing to kids instead of just focusing more on being a good series of
Yeah.
movies. Which just sucks because like Shrek Forever After is actually like a really good way to cap it off, but everyone kind of like writes it off thanks to Shrek the Third and like the general perception of Shrek for a good while. So it kind of sucks because that was actually like a really good movie. I wouldn't say it was like better than the first two, but it was definitely a good way to cap it off and continues on with the themes and that whole thing. It's just
Yeah.
one of those things. It is what it is, but that's kind of what happens. Like sometimes the thing that becomes the counterculture ends up becoming the culture in a weird way. You know what I mean?
We have to have more conversations about art because holy shit, I welcome you in my server where we just talk about art, man. Anyway,
I'm not the best always talking like that. I mean, like I barely.
well,
have
too
the
bad
time.
you are in my eyes.
No, I mean like I don't have enough time usually to talk about things. Hell, like even my own server, I don't always talk a whole lot like to a bunch of people immediately about certain topics. It's hard for me to focus my mind on. So I'm glad that we're able to do this interview. It's just I'm not always the best at that.
Well, I think you're the best, so you better accept it. And I was gonna ask you if you've seen Mitchell's versus the Machines because you did a voice for one of my videos, my review of Mitchell's versus the Machines. Have you seen it? The movie.
I haven't yet, actually. Like originally, I was like, I mean, the art style looks cute, but at the same time, I kind of this sounds weird. I don't mean this in a mean way, but like when I saw it, I was kind of like, I mean, the art style looks cool, but I don't know if it's actually going to be good. And that sounds weird because like it seemed to have like a lot of talent put into it, but I was also kind of worried that I was going to be like, yeah, this is just going to be kind of like.
Well, I mean, have you seen my review that you were part of?
I haven't seen it. I know this sounds bad. I haven't seen it yet. I know that I voiced for that thing, but I haven't seen the review itself yet. Like I said, I haven't seen anything about Mitchell's versus Machines. Like I haven't seen anyone really talk about it. It's just kind of
Okay.
like it's out of my purview. So I have like literally no pre-established opinions or not besides me just seeing the trailer. I've heard
Well-
it's good. I don't have any negatives or anything like that besides thinking like, I don't know if it's going to be something for me or not. Animation looks cool though.
Take it from me, and I really hope I don't try to ruin the hype or anything for you, but I believe that it does a great job with the whole boomers versus zoomers thing, where it's like, technology versus, outlife. Like, you know how families are constantly bickering at each other because one uses technology and the other doesn't? This movie tackles that, but it does it in a way that's pretty... You understand both of their sides, and I love that. It doesn't antagonize the boomer, it doesn't antagonize the kids that use the technology, and that's something that I think is very smart, and I feel a lot of artists could learn a lot from that movie.
Yeah.
So definitely your movie homework, if like, shit, I mean... make that your birthday list or your Christmas list. Mitchell's bad guys.
I'm
team.
trying to now that we got like HBO Max and stuff. I've been trying to like catch up on a lot of other animations and things like that. I obviously know that's not on HBO Max, but you know what I mean. Like now that I'm like trying to actually catch up, and then we have all these other services, which I'm like, I have my own opinions about the services. We're not going to talk about that. That's a whole bag of can of worms there. But like, I'm glad that at least they exist in the sense of like now I can finally catch up on these shows because like I've always been horrible at binging. Like I've been trying to like catch up here and there. But yeah, that's also been another problem. Is like I have a horrible time of binging, especially since like everybody's kind of like, oh, you should binge
Me
this.
too.
Like,
I don't. I'll be honest. I actually like creating stories more than I do watching stuff because when I create stories, I'm in control. I make sure that the story is not disappointing in the end.
Yeah, I get you.
Man, so you should make a birthday list of all the movies you want, and then people will send them to you, and that'd be sweet. I'd seriously gift you a copy of Mitchell's versus the Machines if I could.
Honestly, I mean, I thank you for that, but like at the same time, I don't like doing that kind of stuff because it feels kind of like needy. Like, oh, look at my Amazon wish list and stuff, and it's just kind of like.
Well, you're not like being specific about it. You're just saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to. I don't know. I feel very weird about doing anything like that. Even remotely could come off as e-begging. It's one of those weird things. It's
E-begging.
like,
You might as well not have a Patreon because, oh, you're e-begging even though you need the money to and support because you're a starving artist. Ugh.
yeah, I know, but it's just one of those things. Like I don't really like. I have a stubbornness about myself. I don't like to make people do stuff for me. I try to do stuff my own way or try to do it by myself because
Aw,
I don't
man.
want to push people to help me or anything like that. I've been trying. Would help me. I've been trying, but like if it's something that I think I could do, I try to do it by myself. For better or for worse.
All right. Well, that's good to know that you're opening up to the idea of people gifting you stuff. Just remember, you are their friend. Money is no object. Anyway.
I know. I
Anyway.
realize that. I believe that to my friends and stuff, but for me, it's like, don't spend money on me, please. Don't.
Well,
Better things to spend on.
well, I feel they will not mind, and they probably won't spend too much on you anyway. So, all right, one more question, and then we'll get into audience questions, and I think we'll take a bathroom break because, boy, oh boy, I gotta go. Anyway,
No
so, excuse me. So you had your first artist alley at MomoCon 2022. How was it?
It was honestly a lot of fun. This is like my first convention in terms of like going to convention and doing an art rally. So it was a very big rush. So what happened was, literally at the beginning of May, I got okay. Let me further properly explain this. So, like in 2020, before COVID first hit, actually 2019 specifically. That's when I applied for Artist Alley in December for MomoCon 2020, and I actually was accepted. And I officially had a table. But then, obviously, as everyone knows, COVID happened and it canceled a ton of different conventions. And then they were trying to reopen in 2021, but I wasn't an official member then. I was just put on the wait list, and they would see if they would put me on there as a table or not, and then that got canceled. So when MomoCon came up again, I thought it's probably gonna be like when MomoCon came up again. I finally saw I was doing it like I saw it was finally happening again, but I realized I missed the deadline, and so I didn't think at all that they kept me on the wait list. So I was just kind of like, well, guess I'm not doing it this year. And I just decided I wanted to go there for a couple of days with Alex and just have some fun. But then, literally beginning of May, I got an email from MomoCon's Artist Alley saying, hey, we're looking for artists to fill in seats. Would you like to join? I literally at work, I literally jumped for joy. Like, literally like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, kind of thing. And so I accepted, but then I realized I literally had only a month to plan for something that should take like months in advance. So it was a big bum rush of trying to get shit done. Stuff, and like I had to stop doing things for like my comic. And I've been trying to finish up commissions that was supposed to be done at the beginning of May, but then because of MomoCon, I had to like focus on all that, and then the convention, and it's just I've been trying to play hook up and catch up after MomoCon because I literally had to spend a month planning because I didn't know how to do it originally. I was planning for convention, and I was freaking out a lot. And so on top of that, I had like a full-time job that was also stressing me out. So it was just stress all around, trying to get everything ready, and then also me trying to draw. Like, I was trying to get like a bunch of new pieces because I didn't realize how many pieces I didn't have that weren't just comic pages. I was trying to draw a whole bunch of stuff, but then middle of May, a little bit late, not a little bit late, but like middle of May, I was talking to one of my buds about like how big my portfolio should be, and they only said like, oh, it really only needs to be something small, like 10 or 12 pieces, and I realized that I made like 20 pieces, and I was trying to plan to do like 10 more. And I was just like, oh my God, I stressed myself out for nothing. But like, by the time I got there, I basically had my sister and her boyfriend help me set up and watch the table. It was a very out of body experience at times. And I mean that in a good way because it was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. And my neighbors, 7-Star Pearlers, they were fantastic, great booth neighbors. I loved them. They were great, fantastic. They make some really good pixel art merchandise and stuff. They don't make the pixel art themselves. They commission artists to like sell their stuff essentially through them, and they make like these really cool cool keychains and pillows with this pixel art style by beads and pearls and things like that. It's really cool.
Damn.
But during the convention, it was just really crazy seeing the number of people that actually recognized me. And like I said on Twitter, but like there was a guy that cosplayed as Jeff, one of my characters.
Dude,
and it was so fucking cool. Like it wasn't like any of my other characters, like the hard characters. It was Jeff. It was basically this Cajun American guy, stubby, Tubby kind of thing, long hair. There was this guy that literally got a cosplay together and looked exactly like Jeff in real life. It was crazy. And there was like one guy that was dressed up as Ash Williams that had me draw him a cover for his Dark Souls book. It was one of those like comic issues that actually had like a cover that you could draw on, like those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so I got to meet a lot of other people. I got to meet some people that have been following me for a good bit. I got to meet Ronald, the voice actor for Hayes, and a buddy of mine that I've known since like 2018, 2019. Yeah, 2018 specifically, yeah. And it was just really cool seeing all these people. And the fact that I actually did pretty well. I sold like $1,800 worth of stuff. And this is my first.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my first convention. It was like really surprised I managed to sell that much. So it was really great. I definitely made profit essentially I definitely made profit. It was really nice, and I will say it was just kind of like stressing. There was times I almost broke down. And so no, that sounds stupid, but like I was breaking down over my fucking Sam versus Freddy piece because like it sold out. I wasn't expecting it to sell out. It sold out like 2 times. And so like the second time we were trying to get more prints done, and I didn't think the prints looked right. I was like literally stressed out, and I almost cried. Then people turned out to like them and stuff. So yeah, they all turned out right, but it was definitely just.
MomoCon was exciting because I wanted to meet my friends there. I wanted to meet you there even. You were like a pleasant surprise. I met you, we talked, I bought a poster from you. It was surreal to see you, and I'm so glad you remembered me.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. It was really awesome seeing you there. Like I said, seeing you there and like seeing other people in real life and just being like, oh my god, it's you. It's just crazy.
It's you, yeah. Alright, so we're gonna get to audience questions now, but I drink so much water because it's important to stay hydrated, but I have to use it, so I will be right back. Do not worry, everyone. I'll be quick. Just be right back, all right?
Row, fight the power. Row, fight the power.
And we're back. Right now, we're going to take an audience question. There's only 2 people in this audience right now, which is pretty humble and fine. Goes to show you that I have a very regular server that, no people know their boundaries. So if anyone wants to speak, raise their hand. Just, I guess, right-click on themselves and right down below, there's an option to show requests. Wait, show requests? What? I am brand new to this thing.
That's fine. I didn't even know Discord could do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got to change your Discord server into a community server, and you can allow it to do a stage thing where a few people can talk on in. And hello, Ben. I guess he got in because he's like a moderator here. He is my best friend, my best bud.
Hello. Yeah. I was trying to figure out how to send a request, and I just popped in here.
All right. So, Ben, do you have anything to say to Deputy Rust over here? This is Ben. I was telling you about him.
Howdy.
Hi. The plan was I was gonna be here for the interview to hear all about you because I'm not familiar with you. So I could ask you a question based on that. But I came in a little late, so
That's fine.
I just want to say that Grump really wanted me to meet you, so hello.
It's fine. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, see what I mean? By the way, Ben, I was telling Rust about you, and I said how much of a thick accent you had, and he said that basically the thicker the accent, the nicer the person is.
Aw.
Hey, that's basically just my experience and such. Like I live down here, like Bible Belt area and stuff. But like typically, when it comes to the accent stuff, they're either going to be the most. Usually, like with accents, it's going to be kind of like awesome. But like if they have that accent, there's a good chance they're going to be some really down to earth, nice people, essentially. Because it's just something I've noticed personally. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things. Like I know you can't always judge a person on the accent, but that's just some things I've noticed, especially since I've heard many a different accent in my time living down here in different parts of the South.
Yeah.
What state are you from specifically?
So I was born in Florida, but I live here in Georgia. I've lived here in Georgia most of my life, but my family has sprawled throughout the whole Bible Belt. My mom was from Louisiana, and also lived in Mississippi. My dad lived mainly in Mississippi before marrying my mom. I have family over in South Carolina. I have family, even though it's not in the Bible Belt, some people still consider that part of Missouri southern in a weird way. But like, I got family in Missouri. I have family still in Florida and such. So yeah, family basically everywhere down here.
Nice. Yeah, I could definitely hear the Georgia accent, and yeah, I noticed like each state has their own different accents, and you definitely do have a Georgia twang to your voice.
Oh yeah, so like it's very funny, but like there's tons of different dialects within each state. Everyone like thinks, oh, it's just one accent for each, but there's
Nope.
different little dialects and stuff. Louisiana, there's like at least three main ones and such. Partly because of like like the city area, and then you got like more of the bayou and things like that. It's just funny, like seeing all the different type of southern accents. Like like my mom used to have a very Southern Belle type accent, and my grandma still has that. My Mimi on my dad's side, my grandma on my dad's side still has that. My grandpa still has it too. They have very like if you ever watched Oh Brother Where Art Thou, there's like a ton of different
Yes.
Southern accents, but like the guy that with the Cuban governor and his family, that Southern Mississippi accent, that whole thing there, that whole accent. My grandpa still has that accent, and
That's
so does my
amazing.
Mimi. But yeah, it's just funny because like there's different parts of my family that have like varying Southern accents and stuff. Like my uncle Kebby, who was a Green Beret, he has a lot more of a thicker not drawl, but like can't speak today. He definitely have more of a thicker accent and such. My uncle Bob, even though they're like my uncle Bob, and Uncle Kebby, even though they're brothers, they have like two different weird accents and stuff. Like Uncle Bob, even though it's kind of like has more of a southern accent to it, like this, it's still a lot more proper now. But like Uncle Kebby's definitely got more of that like uh grit to it in a weird way. It's just funny. It's funny seeing all that kind of stuff.
It's very this guy has a huge artistic library in mind, and he knows like a lot. So I'm very happy this interview went well. So Ben, you got anything else you want to ask?
No, pretty much. I think that was pretty much it. I just want to drop in and say hi.
All right.
Nice to see you, man.
Nice to see you. Nice
All
to
right. Take care, Benny boy. Let's see.
Yep.
Okay, he's back. He's back out of here now. I guess he's busy for now. So, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. And if you can't raise your hand, I guess say, "Hey, I want to ask something" in the chat, because this is definitely a small audience. Again, I am a humble person, so I don't mind that at all. But it would be nice just to have more of a conversation going. This interview's been going on for a while now, so I am so glad that I could get a lot out of it. Thank you, Rust, for being very talkative.
Thank you, man.
And Smiler, we're taking questions right now, so if you have a question to ask Rust, then feel free to raise your hand, because you could do that in this new Discord audience thingy. I'm recording everything with OBS, so alright. We got a question here from our good old friend Smiler. Smiler is one of the is a very talented ass artist that I'm friends with, who has a thing for the fox from the bad guys. So speak, man.
Stop.
What, you'd rather I tell him about your fascination with that bunny from Zootopia?
Hey, buddy, calm down, please.
Fine, I have a thing for Clown Girl, so it's not like we're all free of sin.
Oh, same. No way.
That plushie from the tent got me acting unwise.
Exactly. He gets it.
Alright, so what's your question, buddy?
I mean, well, I was kind of just gonna ask how are you, Rust? I have never talked to you before, but I follow you on Twitter.
I'm pretty okay.
That's awesome. Pretty okay. That's better than bad, you know?
Yeah, I'm just a little bit tired at the moment, but not like from this. It's just been a nice, relaxing day for the most part.
Oh yeah, like I had work and I just got back from a walk, so I was tired and I was sweaty, so like bad combination. I can't just sit down on the couch and feel good about myself. So had to take a shower first, but now it's gonna be a good night, good relaxing night. Gonna start drawing, gonna get all that going.
Yeah.
How about you in terms of art? Anything going on like in the future? Any particular projects or?
Right now, I'm still working on Crips and Cowboys and such. Like the first episode of that, like, page is gonna start rolling out tomorrow. And right now, I've been working on a promo for that, which has been a lot of fun. Editing and creating the artwork for. It's been a pain in the ass sometimes, but like it's been a lot of fun, especially now that's like finally just we're just putting the pieces together and just letting the voice actors do their thing and just letting their audio play and just putting up the pieces together. It's just been coming along really fun. I've been enjoying that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's great to see that, like, guys like you are actually taking your ideas somewhere, because there's a whole lot of idleness, especially in people like me who have ideas but don't have it to, like, start capitalizing on it yet. We don't even really have a reason. We just don't do it. So,
I mean, I used to be one of those guys. I used to be one of those guys that was like way too complicit and not wanting to do their stuff. So it was kind of just like, man, I really need to just start doing this kind of thing. I mean, obviously it wasn't 100% like that, but it was just a lot of like trying to motivate myself. And now I'm finally here and I can't stop. So it's kind of
yeah.
like that.
Very happy for you, man. Like, I've been seeing some of the posts, some of like the voice acting stuff. That's groundbreaking for someone like me, like, like, I would say that's actually, a little bit inspiring, because, you've got, like I said, guys like me who haven't even, like, we have ideas, but we barely write them out. We barely, do anything about it. What was like I guess the turning point for you when you were like, all right, I'm going to hit the grindstone and start actually putting this out there?
I think the biggest thing that made me more confident in my ability of the comic and stuff. I mean, like, obviously, like, there was two big moments like that. The first one was when I finally got to episode 5. I talked to Grump about this early in the interview, but like episode 5, there was like the whole thing with like the whole Florida situation, but like episode 5, it was kind of like this moment of like, oh my god, I finally did it. Because for context, I said earlier that I rebooted my comic a lot, but it never went really anywhere past the beginning phase of like escaping the facility and stuff. And so finally getting down, I finally escaped the facility, like in the plot point there, but it wasn't enough. It was just kind of like, okay, so I did it. Okay, cool. What's the next step? And I was trying to push past that. So getting to episode 5 and realizing I got all the plot points that I wanted to try to get done, finally out of the way, we're on episode 5, and it's like, okay, I can do this. Let's keep going. And then the next biggest thing was the Indiegogo that happened in 2020. Because even with COVID, I was worried that wasn't going to happen. Like, I wasn't going to make it. But it turns out I did. And it was freaking awesome, like, finally getting there. It was one of those really accomplishing moments, made me realize, okay, I'm going to keep pursuing this. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but I want to keep going with this. And so there's definitely been, like, ups and downs and stuff, but I've definitely been, like, those two moments have been those moments that have really helped solidify me and want to continue. And MobileCon was another one of those moments where it's just like, okay, there's just those moments where, like, you've been working for so long and you need that moment of like, am I doing this? Is this really worth doing? Is this really worth continuing? And then those moments come in. And obviously, I don't know what you all believe and stuff like that, but for me as Christian, I believe it's just kind of like that moment of God saying, okay, you are making progress. You're on a good path. Here's the proof of that. Here's like here's the crop, basically. Here's the harvest. Here's the harvest of the time you put into this. The seeds you planted, here's the harvest. You can keep going, keep doing it. So you're on the right track. It's just one of those it's another one of those humbling moments, and you just realize, okay, let's keep going on the grind. Let's keep doing this sort of thing.
I'll say this. My beliefs are pretty much agnostic, but I am down for whoever is up there, and I guess my motivation to keep me going is that I make a thing I like, and I like it, so I keep making the thing I like. That's simple, but it works.
No, yeah,
absolutely. Like,
I think it's like that too. It's just when I bring God into the equation and stuff, it's like obviously I know that we all have different things and stuff like that to believe, but like when I'm bringing God into this for me, it's one of those moments of like feeling like God is with you and such, and that He has your support in this thing. It's not because like sometimes you feel like, am I doing really what God wants me to do and stuff? I know that sounds weird because there's some people that are like, oh man, you should do whatever you want to, and I want to do whatever I want to, but it's always that thing, like, is this really worth it? Am I actually having success from it? And more importantly, is God? If it's God, have I been doing the right path and following the path that God wants me to, and following the doors that God's open? Because God, there's a phrase, God opens doors and He closes doors, and there's times you're worried you've missed the door, or you're going through the wrong path, or the door's still closed. Are you even moving forward? So it's just hard sometimes. It's just a hard time scary whenever you're walking in your faith. But stuff like that really reaffirms you, makes you realize, okay, we're moving still.
Oh, 100%. Because like I'm also Christian, and so
Okay.
it's like with what you were talking about, that confirmation that like you're on the right track and you're doing the thing that is really meant for you. That is so important for people like me, especially because I sit here, I'm in my house, and I draw and I improve, and then like the doubt kind of just hits like a freight train, like,
Mhm.
okay, is this like, am I doing the right thing here? Should I
Yeah.
be like somewhere else right now? Is this what I'm supposed to do? And then like sometimes that confirmation of like, yeah, you're doing it, keep it up. That's the most empowering thing ever,
Yeah, it definitely is.
All right, so you got anything else you want to say, Smiler Boy?
Not really. I'm just glad I got to talk to you. So I hope you have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
man.
Smiler is a super good artist and a super good friend. So if you want someone to talk to, hit him up.
Yeah.
I can send you my wait, you can just get my tag from here, actually, if you want to friend me, so yeah.
No worries, man.
But how do I hop out of the
Exit
Like-
quietly.
exit quietly?
There he goes. Bye bye.
Okay.
I think
Off
you
he
just
goes.
left the. I think you just left the call in time.
He melts.
This
Make it
is-
wish.
yeah. So I almost called MomoCon COVIDCon because I got COVID when I got back from MomoCon, but I
Oh,
felt
yeah.
better afterwards, and it was not fun. It was
No,
not fun
yeah.
at all.
I've had COVID. It's not fun. It really ain't.
Yeah,
Like
people can
I normally don't get sick. Like when I get sick, I don't like I feel like tired and stuff and kind of grouchy. But like COVID was like that one time my knees got like sore, and like normally that's a sign like, oh man, you're really sick, because it's like it's kind of like a meme sort of thing. But like literally for me, it was like I've never had this happen before. Something is going on here. It was that kind of realization and the OCD kicking in. It was like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, my knees have never hurt before like
Dude,
this.
when I realized I had COVID, I had a shivering fever, and that was something rare for me, and it was very late at night. I had to go to the hospital, and when the doctor came in the door and said, he's got COVID, I went, what the fuck?
Yeah,
That's usually-
luckily I didn't have to be hospitalized or anything like that, but it was definitely like it was not a pleasant experience, man. It wasn't.
It wasn't. I had to have so much Motrin and Tylenol to keep me from having another headache and fever.
Oh yeah.
And then after all that, I actually had bronchitis in the throat, so I had to take antibiotics for that, which I'm better now. I just have to wait until my immunity kicks off so I could get the vaccine.
Oh yeah, and, like the main thing that I really didn't like about having COVID was like the fact that I couldn't taste anything properly. Like that just messed me up.
I didn't have that problem actually. I still tasted everything just fine, which sucks because I thought I was going to take advantage of my lack of taste so I could finally try new foods.
Oh, and that's not really a good idea. I'm gonna tell you this because the fact that I didn't have taste, it made foods that I normally really liked awful because all I had was the texture. And sometimes just the
Oh.
texture really makes you not like a food. Like Pop-Tarts, for example. Pop-Tarts I actually do like enjoy, like chocolate Pop-Tarts. I fucking love them. I have them for breakfast. But not having that taste, it just felt wrong. It felt like I was stuffing my mouth with cardboard. Or
Oh
like
my god.
like having chicken or something like that, because for some reason I could really taste the grease, but I couldn't taste the chicken. So I was just tasting the texture and stuff, and I just couldn't taste the actual flavor, and I just tasted grease. Same
That
thing with Coke.
sucks.
Like it was just weird. Like I couldn't taste anything, so I only had like the texture to rely on. It made certain foods just made me not want to eat and just kind of like gag a little bit. Even foods that are like good for you and stuff, it was just kind of like, "Ugh, this is not good," because taste is an important part of like foods are good, are like nice to eat and such.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's
But-
not fun.
That is a very good point. So, I think
So is anyone? Oh, sorry.
I think we got one more person who hasn't said anything. Mike, do you have anything to say? Screw it, I'm gonna invite him to speak here just to see if
I'll
he's
just
got
drag him
anything
on
to
in here,
ask.
why don't you?
Yeah. Drag everyone with me to my grave.
Okay, well, so funny thing is, I don't really know too much about Deputy Dust besides that one art piece in the announcement. So it's kind of awkward for me because I don't have any real unique question, I guess.
I am
That's
terribly
fine.
sorry I dragged you here.
You dragged
I mean,
the boy in,
it's
he doesn't
fine.
know why he's here. He said he's a lost boy. You dragged him in here. This lost boy.
But I guess hi. That's my question.
This guy can do a funny Joe Swanson.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Hi. Hi.
Hang on, I can't really do it when I'm laughing.
That's fine.
Hey Peter.
All right.
Peter.
Hey
Oh.
Peter.
Who are you supposed to be?
Your mom is so.
You before in my life, and yet you sound exactly like me.
Your mama is so
Fuck, that's
beautiful.
okay.
Your mom is so
Why
beautiful.
isn't that everyone can do an impression of them?
You'll
don't
get
know.
better. You'll get better.
I know, and it's probably because I'm kind of laughing too much, so it's harder to do.
No, yeah, laughing can really fuck up your voice when you're trying to do an impression.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah. Don't worry about it, Mike.
One day I'll match you, but yeah. CO, I'm gonna exit quietly now.
Take care. Take care.
think. No worries. Yeah, I'll be good.
All right. Now to cap off this interview, I'm just gonna say thanks for taking the time to do this interview, man. This guy right here is fucking awesome at arting, and frankly, you have a style that I consider to be artistic goals for me, and I wish nothing but the best for you. Okay.
Thank you very much, man.
All right. Take care and stay salty,
take care,
everybody.
Y'all have a good evening now, all right? God bless.
God bless.